Hello and welcome back to Jack Knives Reviews. I'm of course your host, Jack Knives. And welcome to the new set of Jack Knives Reviews. Yes, I spared no expense to make sure I had my DVD and Blu-ray collection in full display, as well as showing off some of my personal figurine collection and different collectibles that I have. I figure if this is going to be the domain of nerddom, why not make it a domain of nerddom? But on to the review. Today I'll be reviewing the Studio Ghibli movie, The Boy and the Heron. A young man named Mahito loses his mother during the bombings of World War II. 3 years later, his father has remarried a woman that looks similar to Mahito's mother. She is also pregnant. Mahito now has to temporarily live in the family's estate in the countryside of Japan. While at the estate, he comes across a mysterious gray heron who can speak to him and has lured his stepmother into the woods. Now Mahito has to enter a world he doesn't understand in order to save his stepmother and possibly see his mother one last time. One of the best qualities about Miyazaki is even his worst works have some quality of care to them. The animation is always gorgeous, and the majority of the cinematography and effects are fantastic because it's all hand-drawn animation. But the problem with a lot of later Ghibli movies is they became more self-centered. Specifically, I'm thinking about movies post-Ponyo. In my opinion, after Ponyo, all of the Ghibli movies started making a steady decline as far as quality of care in storytelling. In fact, I hate saying it, but I think the last amazing Ghibli movie was probably Howl's Moving Castle. The Boy and the Heron, though, is almost like a redemption arc. It's not necessarily up to the level of some of his greatest works, specifically Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, or, of course, Howl's Moving Castle. But it does show that there is still some quality. There's still something here. There's still something to work with and something to work off of. The story in itself is probably... I would compare this movie to The Cat Returns, which is probably the closest to any of the other Ghibli movies that are in the same vein. It's very much a fish out of water story, but not in the stereotypical Ghibli, especially Miyazaki's work. Usually with Miyazaki's stories, it's always character falls into world. World is slowly explained to the character and the audience. Here, it's more like characters ripped out of the real world into this world and not given any explanation, and almost is critical of the fact that you don't know the explanation. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way it was done. There are elements of it that seem confusing to so many of the audience, at least the audience that I saw it with, that it didn't come off as a genuine, progressive storytelling. It feels like a movie that you'd have to rewatch in order to understand everything that happened, as opposed to a movie like, let's say, Spirited Away, where the main character is put into this world and is having things explained to her as they're going on. This one, it's like a character from another story ending up in a different story and they have no idea what's going on. Which can work in the right circumstances, but the problem is it felt like it was treading a lot of the same water that a lot of Ghibli movies do. In that it's trying to deal with heavy subjects without dealing with the heavy subjects. There's something off about the movie. I don't know what it is. It's not bad. I mean, the marketing was genius because the entire marketing strategy for The Boy and the Heron was that there was no marketing strategy. I know it sounds weird, but when this was announced, all that was announced was just a small little drawing of the character turning into the heron, so you just see the eye in the mouth of the heron bird, and that's it. And nothing else. Like, everything was top secret. There wasn't a trailer up until just recently, and it's a good and a bad thing because how do you market something that isn't marketed? And yet, because it's a Ghibli movie and Miyazaki came out of retirement to do it, I know. It showed that he actually cared about the story. And then come to find out that apparently certain characters represent certain people that were actually meaningful to Miyazaki. I did not click to that at all. Apparently someone explained that to me and I'm like, really? The voice cast does a great job. I mean, Mark Hamill plays the crazy old uncle. He's great in it. Dave Bautista plays the Parakeet King. Very on brand for his style of voice. So I'm like, it worked really well. Some of the other cast was just kind of there. But the one that honestly blew me away was Robert Pattinson as the Gray Heron. Like, I did not recognize his voice at all. Like, even a little bit. In fact, I didn't even realize it was him until I got about near halfway into the movie, and I'm like, why does that voice sound familiar? I mean, because he's playing a character. Like, a lot of the times when they cast actors, they just do their voice, and they go, oh, you casted me to be the voice. Robert Pattinson gave his all in this voice role, and he did an amazing job. I was blown away with how good he did in this. I mean, honestly, Robert Pattinson is becoming one of my favorite actors, which I never thought I would ever say. Also, I did find it really funny that the movie had 2 Batmans in the voice cast. The father of Mahito is voiced by Christian Bale, and the Gray Heron is voiced by Robert Pattinson. Kind of funny how that ended up being a thing. But overall, The Boy and the Heron is a movie that I wouldn't necessarily say is a great movie. It isn't nearly top tier caliber of Miyazaki. However, I would say for Studio Ghibli, it is true to form. It is good in the vein that they're trying to get back to their bread and butter, which is fun fantasy stories with interesting characters and amazing visuals. That's pretty much their bread and butter. And I'm glad that they're staying true back to that form. Although I haven't seen the subcast, I will probably have to watch that on my own in a separate time. I give The Boy and the Heron 4 out of 5. Have you seen The Boy and the Heron? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, I'll see you next time.